WCNC Plus. We have some special guests right now in the studio as I want to talk about the president. Of course, he is preparing to sign his one big beautiful bill later today. The House passed the bill yesterday in a narrow vote, 218 to 214, and among the changes, the bill's going to cut deeply into Medicaid. So despite an urgent appeal on Capitol Hill, our group who we have here in studio, it's a good one. It is the group Little Lobbyists, families of children with complex medical needs, for a better term, Stacy, were unable to stop the bill's passage. And this morning we are joined by two members of the group, Stacy Staggs here to right in front of me, and then Alexis Stadler, both who traveled to Washington last month, right, to make their case for their daughters. We have Emma, who's next to Stacy, and Kinsley. Hi girls. How are you? How's everyone doing? We thank you for coming in on this July 4th holiday, everybody. Stacy, talk to me about the vote yesterday. You must have been prepared in some way, one way or another. What was your reaction when you first learned about it?
Yes, absolutely. We are always prepared as medical parents. It's a requirement of our lives.
Sure.
So while we are always looking at what we expect will happen, we're prepared for alternatives. It was pretty clear to us being on the Hill just Tuesday, right?
No, we drove down Tuesday night and we were on the Hill on Wednesday.
Okay.
We were back and forth to DC twice this week, so all the days are blurring together a little bit.
One big week.
Okay.
Wow, tireless. Your group, Stacy, tell me how and when you organized or when this organized. Yeah.
I love to share this story.
Okay.
So the Little Lobbyist origin story was what we're calling it. In the summer of 2017. After Trump had been elected to his first term, and he did campaign on ending the Affordable Care Act, which would be devastating for families like ours and really all Americans. In the spring of 2017, the House actually took that action and they repealed the Affordable Care Act. So it had to go to the Senate. Now, on that day, I remember a mix of fear, panic, and anger. How could this happen? I reached out on social media and I found a number of other families who were also feeling similar things. Some of them were near in the DC area. And my friend, Elena Hung, who is now the executive director of Little Lobbyist, she lives in Maryland and said, you know what if we just went down to Capitol Hill and see if anybody wanted to talk to us. So she and her friend, Michelle, and their kids and their mobility equipment, their service animals, their portable oxygen tanks, just rolled up to Capitol Hill. And again, didn't have any appointments, but just hoped they might find somebody who wanted to talk to us. And they did. They absolutely did. There were a number of
Klobuchar there.
Yeah, Democratic senators in particular who were interested in hearing our stories. So at that point, we did not have the name yet, but we did have a reporter following us that day. Oh, Emma for the Senate. We did have a reporter following us that day who then wrote an article and dubbed us the Little Lobbyists. So we're not actually licensed lobbyists, we're just families. And that one day, that was supposed to be just one day lobbying on the Hill, has become hundreds at this point. Both through Trump's first administration, all the way through Biden's administration, and now again, of course, as we're trying to protect Medicaid, because it's the services that keep our kids healthy, safe, and alive in our homes.
Alexis, tell us about your daughter and how this bill, now going to pass, how this will affect your family.
So this is my daughter, Kinsley, who we call Sunshine in human form because she is so full of light. She was sick from the time she was born, and we had to fight really hard to actually get her even approved for the Medicaid waiver, Cap C in North Carolina. We fought for about a year to get her approved for that, and it was life-changing for us in ways where we were able to get therapies, her wheelchair, things that our private insurance that we pay for does not cover. And then at 3 years old, Kinsley was also diagnosed with brain cancer on top of everything else. And during her cancer treatment, because we had Cap C through Medicaid, we were able to do a lot of things at home that she would have had to be in the hospital for if we didn't have Medicaid. So IV antibiotics, IV nutrition, because her GI system was completely paralyzed and she couldn't eat through her feeding tube anymore. All of these things where she would have had to be in a hospital 24/7, we were able to do at home with the help of having nursing that Medicaid pays for in our home, so that she could continue being part of her community and being able to be with her friends and her her big sister and all her dogs, and being at home in her space. And now, I don't have the figures in front of me for North Carolina specifically, but back between 2010 and 2012, when there were Medicaid cuts that were not nearly as deep as the cuts that are going to be happening now, home and community-based services were the first thing to go. And Cap C, which is what our children are on, is a home and community-based service, because these are considered optional services in the state. So if they're looking to cut something, the first thing that's going to be cut is optional. And these are our children who are getting to be in their community, not only survive, but thrive, make friends, go to school, do all of these things because of Medicaid. And now we're looking at possibly having to, if her Medicaid gets pulled, me having to quit my job and stay home with her and be her nurse 24/7, because she cannot be without a nurse, or my husband or I, because we're the only ones who are trained enough to do her care.
Yeah, I can't imagine what you do now. What are you guys going to do? What's the next plan or next step?
Yes, well, until the vote yesterday, our plan was to stop it by talking with legislators and letting them meet our children and hear our stories, and hopefully accessing the empathy and humanity that exists in everyone, most people, and just help them understand the impact of their votes. I mean, that's always been our charge, is to put a face to healthcare, and the votes that they're taking in Washington, D.C. have human impact, of course. And that's true. That's true for all of the votes that they do. Now that it has passed and is likely to be signed by the White House, our charge changes to two different things. We're now going to be focused on harm reduction, as we're working with the state legislatures through their budgeting process. Same thing, we'll be going to Raleigh, we'll be talking with the legislators, we'll say, these are the kids that you're voting on, and here's what will happen to them if they don't have the services that they need. We'll also be focused very heavily on accountability. For the Republicans in Congress who voted in favor of this bill, that's a choice that they made. They did not have to make that choice. And as midterms approach, of course, we have a lot of work to do, and that will include making sure everyone knows that they voted against the will of their constituents and against families like ours.
When you think, and you guys were only in Washington just days ago, the lobbying experience, and you brought the kids, and I mean, to bring everything, not only is that, I mean, a burden for any person to do a road trip like that with fully functioning and healthy families, but what was that like, and how do you march forward?
We actually, when we went to D.C. last week, we had a horrific experience in the airport, and we were stuck in the airport for hours with suitcases full of medical equipment, all of these things, got to the hotel at 2 a.m. and then woke up the next day and went to the Hill. And I think when you put medical moms who have been through all of this, and we're watching our children's health care possibly be stripped away, there's nothing that's going to stop us. Even the extra, all the luggage, the back pain from carrying everything all over Capitol Hill, it's none of it is going to stop us from keep doing the work to make sure that our kids have what they need.
Absolutely. I'll share too that when the Senate voted, that must have been Tuesday, the first thing that happened is Alexis messaged me and said, "Are we getting in the car?" And I said, okay, let's do that. Gathered, again, we had just come back on Sunday, so I grabbed the top of the clean laundry, so it was the same clothes. We drove up, it was about 5 until 1 a.m. We drove through a terrible rainstorm that night. And then asleep by 2, alarm set for 6, back on the hill at 8 a.m. I'll be honest, the kids handle it better than the adults.
Okay. Yeah, that many times that's the case, isn't it?
They were, of course, playing with each other and just happy to be doing something kind of interesting and new, whereas we're the ones going, okay, here's what has to happen next. We're keeping track of formula feeds, and are we on track with our medicine doses? When we landed in D.C. the first time, it was also an electrical storm, and the airport couldn't pull luggage off the planes, and we had to check Kinsley's wheelchair. So the first response from the airplane was, just come back tomorrow and get your luggage. We were like, it's her wheelchair. Right. We're here until it becomes available. So we went down to baggage claim and sat for another 2.5 hours while Emma ran circles around the baggage claim, sat in random people's laps just to say hi. Kinsley was singing songs, and as the luggage started coming off the belt 2.5 hours later, everyone was cheering for each other when they found, not just our flight, but other flights that had also been impacted. We're high-fiving strangers going, great job, now you can go
victory
where you're going.
Yeah. So you're smiling, and your energy is so positive. Really, I mean, amazing what you're going through, what you went through, what happened yesterday. Mm-hmm. How do you do it? One, as parents that have to work and support your families, help do that, and be mother and medical moms, as you say. How do you do it?
I think I took some advice from the show Bluey yesterday. There's
You
like Bluey?
Yes, we love Bluey, and it was a checklist. Have a good cry, dust yourself off, pick yourself up, and keep going. The show must go on. Mm-hmm. So I had a really good cry. I let the anger hit for a little bit.
Keep going.
You keep on going.
You keep on going, and that's the thing. Grief. Two things can be true, and grief can coexist with joy. And I think we need to focus on the joy of our children and what they bring to the world, and showing that to the world, and what the legislation they're passing can possibly impact all of these things that they get to do in their community. She years ago, if she didn't have Medicaid, she wouldn't have been able to go to school. She just graduated kindergarten. So getting to letting the joy coexist with the grief, and being able to say, you know what, this is terrible, this is awful.
I'm in first grade now.
You are in first grade now. That we're going to be able to say, we're going to just keep going, because we don't give up.
Stacey, that's what you're doing? Just keep on going?
Oh, absolutely. I would say I'm fueled by joy and spite and coffee. We'll sleep when the work is done. And we have a lot to do still before the midterms. But I'm telling you, on Wednesday, when we were in the House side of the Capitol, we had 19 people. It included 5 kids who use wheelchairs and our parents. I don't think we had a nurse with us.
No, I think we were all. No, we did have a nurse with. We had one nurse with us.
Yes, we did. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, what is really magical is seeing the kids interact together. They remember each other from the last visit that we've done. They're high-fiving. Everyone's talking about how big each other has gotten. What grade are you going into? Do you like this game on your tablet? And seeing the kids interact is, just
priceless.
Heaven for me. Especially kids who don't have access to other kids with wheelchairs or, feeding tubes. All the kids had a feeding tube this time.
Yeah.
So we were talking about that. We're showing each other cool backpacks. I have a video I can share of wheelchair races down the
Yes.
hallway.
Yes.
okay.
Kinsley does not she's the only child at her school with a wheelchair, so like she doesn't get to interact with other kids with wheelchairs often. So she's racing down the hallway of the Capitol building with her new friends, and they're not right now. No, not right now. Yeah. So they, and even between Sunday when we came home and Wednesday when we went back, other moms were saying, I've seen such a difference in her and her starting to verbalize and advocate for herself. Like I was doing an interview and she started speaking up and saying, yeah, I need my nurses. And speaking up for herself. And I think it's important for them to find that voice and be able to advocate for themselves, because that's the goal eventually one day. Like I'll never stop advocating for her, but eventually I want her to be able to use her own voice and say, this is what I need and this is what you're doing that's going to harm me and my friends.
Yeah, she's doing it. She's doing it here in the Live Impact studio right now,
Yes.
Kinsley. I love it. What do you want our viewers to know about your mission?
Ooh, I would love for everyone to know who their state legislators are, what district they live in, and even more importantly, our elected leaders need to know who we are. So name recognition, conversations, eventual relationships. I mean, I'm friends at this point with multiple people in the state legislature and even at the federal level. And that's because I summoned my courage, dialed the phone, entered an email, and said, hey, could we talk? So I think that more people being more active and more participatory in not just the election process that happens every year, but also the day-to-day, like learning about what's going on in Raleigh right now regarding the budget and how that is going to be impacted by the vote that happened yesterday. So I think if we can take anything away from today, it's you've got to reach out, you've got to get involved. You have to keep the conversation going, whether it's the kid's teacher at school, or for us it's the therapist or the nurses. Just talk about what is going on, what's at risk. And you'll find that there are a lot of good people who want to help. They're just they're not sure how to get started. So my advice is pour a cup of coffee or whatever you drink in the morning, take a few deep breaths, and dial the phone.
All right. I mean, outside of politics, I think just the message of family and strength and resilience and moving forward is such a takeaway for anybody to take,
Our kids should be at home just like every kid should be in their families' lives with their toys and their comfy bed, and the things that make a family are what we're working to preserve. It's not an exaggeration to say that our daughters are in harm's way because of this bill. In multiple ways. If it's not even just one thing. It's not just health care. It's not just Medicaid that they're eligible for. It's the risk of being taken from their home and placed in a skilled nursing facility or a nursing home, because institutions that were operating very shabbily in as recently as the 80s, they don't exist anymore. They've been closed because they found out that people being at home in their community gives better results, and by the way, it's a whole lot less expensive. I mean, we throw around these gigantic numbers, more money than I'll ever see in my life, but it is the lives of our kids. They deserve to be at home with us, and we want to be home with them and have our play dates and go to the pool. I would love to have met Alexis and Kinsley under different circumstances, but we are made to do this work because there's a mortal risk for the lives of our kids, and whether our family remains intact or not, somebody somewhere is going to be harmed. I hope it's not us. I hope it's not you. I don't want it to be anybody.
We're not just doing this for our kids, it's for all kids who benefit from programs like this. And a lot of people are saying to me, like, internet trolls like, oh, if your child is legitimately disabled, they're not going to lose their coverage, but that's not necessarily true, especially the fact that our state doesn't have a budget right now. And because these programs are optional, they're the first thing to go. And we're starting to make plans to backup plans and say like, okay, can we stop, make sure that we're rationing our supplies that Medicaid pays for. Yes, honey.
I'll go to the pool.
We will go to the pool.
She said the magic word.
Yes.
Pool, she
But yeah,
knows.
like that's what we'd honestly prefer to be doing with our summer. But we packed our kids up and went to DC and put our lives here on hold so that we could fight for our kids and all the kids like them.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate your time and letting us know about your work, tireless work as advocates and little lobbyists and moms. And, it takes a village. The studio is a small studio. There's like 3 or 4 other people outside of the studio, including a nurse for medical support. So we thank you for coming in. Keep us posted as far as your efforts go. And Kinsley and Emma, nice to meet you. Enjoy the pool.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we're going to go to the pool now.
It's time to go to the pool.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
All right, appreciate you guys. Little Lobbyists coming into the Live Impact studio on this 4th of July, Independence Day, as we celebrate 250 years.